Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Eric. Thanks for watching my video. Today I'm going to show you how to make some delicious homemade beef stew in the slow cooker or crock pot. I absolutely love using this, particularly this time of year. We're getting into fall where the weather's starting to get a little bit colder, and there's nothing better to keep you warm at night when you're a little bit chilly than a nice meal that's been cooking all day long in a slow cooker. It also fills the whole house with this delicious aroma that just makes you feel good, make you feel like you're at home. I have some of the basic ingredients here. First thing, of course, you want to use the meat. I got some beef stew meat from Sam's Club that's already been chopped up into perfect sized pieces. But, you know, if you don't have access to that, you can use any kind of chuck roast. It could be any kind of inexpensive beef. Top or bottom round would work. Just, you know, anything that's inexpensive. Don't necessarily be concerned with getting the most lean piece of meat, because cooking it for a long time in the slow cooker is going to make it very tender. So go for the inexpensive stuff, whether you're buying the whole chuck roast that you can cut into own pieces, or most butchers have it already set up. Some other basic ingredients, you know, celery, potatoes, onions. I put a little red wine in there. I have some fresh ingredients here, some rosemary, thyme, a few bay leaves, some garlic, carrots, of course, tomato paste for the base, of course some beef stock. I get the low sodium because you can always add more salt. A little bit of Worcestershire sauce, of course, salt and pepper, a little bit of flour to cook the beef. But the great thing about cooking beef stew is there's no right way to do it. You can experiment. You can add different things. I've seen people add corn, you know, green beans, mushrooms, whatever you like. I mean, it's not a science. It's not like baking a cake where you need to have the exact ratio of flour to sugar and so forth. With a stew, once you get the basic gravy down, you could just throw in ingredients and whatever you like. So feel free to experiment. I got almost 5 pounds of meat here, which is a lot, but I like my stew meaty, and I'm going to make it a little bit larger portion so we have it for a few days. But in any case, let me show you the first step, which is cooking the meat. I'll do that right now. Alright guys, the first thing you need to do is we need to get this beef in some flour. I've taken around a half a cup of flour. You don't have to be scientific here. And I put it in a Ziploc bag. And we're just going to throw these pieces of stew meat in the bag. Now, don't try to do it all at once, because it's going to be hard to coat everything. Try to take it in manageable batches. Next thing we're going to do after we get this all wrapped up, I'm just going to seal it. You don't have to remove the air or anything. But we're just going to roll it around, shake it, get it all coated with some flour. We're going to fry this up in a pan. It's going to start making our base for our beef stew. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this, and I'll show you the next step in just a second. Alright guys, I've taken a frying pan here, and I put some olive oil on the bottom. You want to put it on medium-high heat. We really want this hot. And now we're just going to take our pieces of beef. We want to hear that little sizzle when it hits. Now we don't want to throw it all in there because it's going to splatter and it's not going to cook the meat right. We actually want to cook it just like this with enough space so we can easily turn this over. Now bear in mind, this is going to cook all day in the crock pot, so we don't need to cook this through. What we're doing here, our objective, is to just brown the meat on the outside, which is going to give the meat a much better texture. And of course, some of the fat drippings that are left in this pan we're going to use for the base for our stew gravy. So that's it, you know, just put it in here, and it's not going to take that long. You know, literally maybe a minute on each side. So just kind of cook it. Like I said, we're not going for a complete cook through, so don't worry if you see some red pieces still. That's perfectly okay. It's going to cook quite well in the crock pot. So yeah, just try to get as much brown on the pieces of meat as you can. The more the better. And I will finish browning this meat and show you the next step in just a minute. Alright guys, I'm done browning the last bit of beef here. As you can see, there's all kinds of nice flavor crystals on the bottom of this. So we're going to use that to make our stock. We don't want to throw this away. There's a lot of delicious flavors in here. So take all that meat that you fried up out of the frying pan, turn it off now because it's pretty hot, and put it in the crock pot, all this meat. At this time too, turn the crock pot on high just to start warming it up. And this is what we're going to make our stock out of. So I'll be back in just a second to show you the next step. Alright guys, here I got the pan with all those delicious juices and flavors in there. This time we're going to add some butter, 2 to 3 tablespoons of butter. And you know, I'm doing it a little bit different today. Since I'm home all day, I'm going to cook the meat for a couple hours by itself because it really needs to cook for a minimum of 6 to 8 hours, preferably 10 to 12 on low, to get super fork tender. The only problem is if I add in all the vegetables at that time, it's going to get too, the vegetables are going to get too mushy. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start to make a little gravy base here. So I melted the butter in the same pan. I have 1 small onion, 1 stalk of celery, and a couple garlic cloves that I've minced very, very fine. Now, I am still going to put celery, carrots, onions, and potatoes in it, but I'm going to hold the big chunks for later on because I want them to be a little more firm. I don't want them to be all mushy. Now, of course, this is an optional step. The beef stew is still going to be delicious if you throw everything into the crock pot at this point. But all I'm going to do is simmer the meat, and I'm going to saute this here to get some wonderful flavors in this pan with all that meat that we sauteed in it. Once I get this a little bit brown, I'm going to add a cup of wine and some beef stock and some tomato paste and some spices, Worcestershire sauce, and make a nice little liquid here that we're going to pour over the beef in a crock pot and cook it for a couple hours. So I'll be back in just a second once this heats up to temperature. Alright guys, I've been sauteing this now for around 10 minutes. You can see it's starting to turn a little brown. Everything's getting translucent. This is perfect. This is going to be an excellent start to our beef stew base. So at this point you can turn down the stove to simmer. What we're going to do now is add some tomato paste, and just in case I haven't mentioned it, I don't think I have, all the measurements of all the ingredients I'll list down below the video, so you guys don't have to sit there with a notepad and listen to what I'm trying to say. But like I said earlier, this is open to interpretation. You know, we got a little bit of Worcestershire sauce we'll pour in there. I got 1 cup of red wine. And then I got the spices. I have rosemary, thyme that I'm going to add into this as well. And now we'll just stir this around. We're going to try to scrape up anything off the bottom of the pot here. Just let this kind of cook down a little bit here. Bring it up to like a simmer. And then we're going to pour this in the crock pot over our beef. And add a little bit of beef stock. And then we're going to let that beef just simmer for a couple hours. That allows us enough time to cut up all those vegetables. Because boy, that's going to be, I haven't started that part yet. So let me let this cook down a little bit, and I will show you the next step in just a second. Okay guys, here we are. I let this cook for a couple minutes, brought it to a simmer, and cooked off some of that alcohol. It's much more of a paste-like consistency now, but it smells wonderful. As I mentioned earlier, I put all the beef in the slow cooker. I did turn it up to high. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this liquid over the beef. Of course, try to get all of it as you can because there's a lot of delicious flavors in here. Okay. I'm going to add a couple cups of beef stock. Now you can either use bouillon to do your own stock. I just buy this low sodium stuff. Oh man, it's already starting to smell good. I'm going to stir it up real good. You don't necessarily have to cover it, but you want enough liquid in it for it to start cooking. Boy, it smells good. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add a couple bay leaves. Those, of course, we want to pick out when we're done. And we're just going to season it a little bit. As you notice, I haven't seasoned it yet, so this is a little garlic salt with some parsley and a little bit of black pepper. All right. Like I said, if you're in a hurry, if you're doing this ahead of schedule, you're going to work and you want it to be completely done and not mess with it, you can add the rest of the vegetables right now. You know, the celery, the carrots, the potatoes, the onions, whatever else you could think of that you want to throw in. Like I said, feel free. But I'm just going to cook this now since I'm home. I'm just going to cook this for a couple hours because I really want this meat to break down and be fork tender. So I'm just going to let this go. I have it on high. I'm going to leave it on high. We'll come back maybe in around an hour, hour and a half, and I'll see how it is. In the meantime, I'm going to get busy cutting the rest of the vegetables. So we'll be back in a little bit. All right, guys, it's been around 2 hours. I've had this beef cooking on high. Let's take a look and see how it looks. Oh, it smells wonderful. The house is already filled with a delicious aroma. So you can see here, the beef looks good. The gravy looks really good. I think when I pour in all these vegetables here, I'm going to have to add some more beef stock because I think it's going to soak up quite a bit here. So what I've got here is some onions, some celery, some carrots, and some potatoes. And I have them all cut in regular size, similar sized pieces, I guess is the correct word. There's no easy way to do this. I don't want to necessarily, woo, it's going to be, like I said, I wanted to fill it to capacity. And it looks like I did. So let's get this stirred around real good. Get this out of the way. All right. See, now it's going to be a little bit nicer for me because the vegetables aren't going to be completely soggy. I don't like it when they get soggy. I plan on having leftovers for a few days, so they're going to be cooked enough. All right, so we're definitely going to have to add some beef stock to this. And like I said, you know what? It's your own creation. Feel free to experiment with different ingredients, different flavors. Oh, this is looking good. Now we're gonna let this cook now. I'm gonna set this back on low. It's already pretty hot. I'm gonna set it on low now, and I'm just gonna let it cook for the rest of the afternoon here. It's around 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm gonna let this go for around 3.5 hours on low. I'll check on it periodically, you know. If it's boiling really hard or it's not boiling enough after an hour, I might kick it up to high. But that's pretty much it. We're gonna just let it do its thing now. Let the crock pot work its magic. In the meantime, since I got 2.5 hours or so left at a minimum, I'm going to try a new beer. This is called Hangar 24 Brewery. It's a company out of Redlands, California, and this is called Betty IPA. It's an Indian Pale Ale. And you can see it's got a B-17 fighter World War II era on the front of the bottle, which I guess is paying homage to that. And This is a company out of Redlands, California. It's not too far from us here in Southern California. It's probably around an hour away. And, oh boy, let me see if I can get this. There we go. And this one is supposed to be an American IPA, it said. I went on their website, hazy orange. And it does have some hints of grapefruit and berries, it says. So, we'll give that a shot. What else can I tell you about it? Tropical, luscious, and diverse. Inspired by the dreams of home painted on the noses of U.S. planes during World War II. That's what Betty is. So again, Hangar 24 Brewery, Betty IPA Indian Pale Ale. I definitely could smell some fruit flavors. All right, let's try this out. It does smell good. Ooh, it's hoppy, that's for sure. But I do taste the hint of the tropical fruits there. Tastes kind of like grapefruit more than tropical. And it's got a dry finish. And it isn't overpowering strong. I said it was 6.5% alcohol. So a little bit stronger than, you know, the domestic stuff. But definitely something I could see myself drinking on a daily basis if I didn't want something too strong. Yet another good beer. I tell you, all these great microbreweries. Every video now I'm trying to do a new beer taster just to try some different stuff, and I'm so happy with all the variety. Every time I go to the store I see a bottle of something new I haven't tried before. So definitely check out some of these American microbreweries. They're really good stuff compared to, you know, the generic stuff we usually get. Anyway guys, that's about it. We'll just let this thing go. I'll be back in around 2.5 to 3 hours. After this is cooked for a while, we'll take a little taste test to see how it is. I'll see you in a little bit. Hey guys, what's up? It's been around 3.5 hours. Around 2 hours ago, I went ahead and noticed it wasn't really bubbling yet, so I cranked it up to high. I did a taste test, and it didn't have enough salt or spices, so I kicked it up a notch by adding some more salt, some more black pepper. I put a little bit more Worcestershire sauce in there, and just kept stirring it and tasting it till I got the proper combination, and now it's just perfect. So make sure you taste test it. I wanted to show you here, everything is just turning out nicely. My only issue now is that the gravy's a little too soupy. This almost looks like a beef stew soup. So I'm going to thicken it up a little bit, just a little bit. And how we do that is we take a little bit of beef stock and a few tablespoons of the gravy here. And we're just going to use cornstarch. You can also use flour, but in my experience, the cornstarch works much better. We're just going to put a little bit of this cornstarch in this liquid. This liquid should be warm. So I put it in the microwave for 30 seconds, just to kind of warm it up. And you're just going to stir this now, and you're going to notice right away it's going to start thickening. You just want to stir it to the point where there's no big obvious lumps. And yeah, that looks about it. And so all we're going to do now is we're just going to pour this into the mixture. Stir it in. So just like that. We stir it in. And now since it is bubbling pretty good, I'm going to kick it down now to low. We're probably an hour and a half to 2 hours away from being able to sit down and eat this. I'm going to get the kids to bed, everything else. But yeah, I'll just kick it down on low now, let it sit, do its thing, and we'll be back shortly. You can check it out when it's finally done. Hey guys, kids are in bed. We're just about ready to eat. Last thing we're going to do is to pour some frozen peas in here. I have one bag, and this is not going to take long at all. They are frozen, so they're going to cool down the stew a little bit, but no more than 10 minutes. We should be fine. So I'm just going to stir this in right now, And we'll give it another 10 minutes. And it'll be time to eat. What I recommend serving with this is some fresh baked bread. Oh. Some fresh baked bread is always tasty with some chili, especially for sopping up the gravy. Oh, there we go. Let's see. All right. Whew. I'm going to let this cool off, and we'll be back in a second to show you the finished product. All right, guys, the moment is finally here. It's been around 10 minutes since I've added those peas, and it is ready to eat. Oh my goodness. I buttered some slices of this fresh baked bread, and I'm just going to pour some of this in here. Oh my goodness. I like it. It's like the, seems like the perfect consistency. You want it a little bit soupy, a little bit gravy, but there you go, guys. I'm going to be enjoying this. Thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe, like my channel, and I'll be making some more slow cooker recipes in the future. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.